Patriot One Technologies, ticker symbol PTOTF, has been very volatile and just kind of all over the place. In the past year, the stock climbed by around 50%, then dropped almost 50% again, then climbed back over 100%, reaching their 52-week high of $2.29 before dropping right back down again, now down over 35% from that high, and actually it's pretty close to 40% from that high, now trading for less than $2 a share at about $1.40 per share. So what's going on with this company? How are they performing? How is their future looking like? And do I plan on picking up any shares of this stock, considering that they are now down close to 40% in just the past few months? Let's find out. What's up, everybody? My name is Ale and welcome to my world of stocks. So let's start by looking at Patriot One as a company, and I'll give you a quick run through of their business and what they do. Now, this is a Canadian company, so they actually trade over here as a OTC stock, or over-the-counter stock, as ticker symbol PTOTF. But as far as their business goes, they develop radar systems that can detect concealed weapons in public locations through a combination of hardware equipment and computer software that even implements artificial intelligence and machine learning to communicate with other systems worldwide and continuously learn from each other, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. First, I want to cover their flagship product, and that's their patented system that they call PatScan. And the way that this system works is that it transmits radar waves that are quickly analyzed by their software to create an image of everything in the area that is being scanned. So when the shape of a weapon is detected in the image that is being analyzed by the software, then the system alerts security about that detection. And the way that it detects the shape of a weapon is by comparing it with a large database of weapon shapes that it continuously updates with that artificial intelligence or machine learning capabilities that we talked about earlier. Because other PatScan systems around the world are continuously adding to that database whenever a new weapon is detected and confirmed. And this isn't just guns that we're talking about, but this also includes weapons like knives and even explosives. In fact, they're even working on ways to detect liquid explosives and even unusual behaviors of both humans and even vehicles. So if someone is moving around in a strange manner, or if vehicles are stopping in a strange area for a certain amount of time, then their detection software can issue an alert and say, okay, this behavior is not what we typically see based off of all the machine learning that it's doing within the network, so security should look into this. And the great thing for Patriot One is that this isn't just a one-time sale of a product, but they actually bundle it as a subscription service that customers have to pay a monthly fee on to get continuous access to their database and be hooked up to the entire network as well to receive support from Patriot One. So this really becomes a continuous source of revenue. And speaking to that end, PatScan systems cost about a third of what they're selling them for, according to a report from Level 5 Research that was filed back in 2017. So this is potentially a high margin product to begin with that also comes with subscription revenue. Not to mention that it's also fascinating technology that can potentially save lives, so I don't see much reason for customers to not purchase the product since it adds safety and gives them good PR. Because when it comes to the whole gun debate, people can get into some pretty big fights over gun control and gun rights. But the good thing for Patriot One is that regardless of the whole gun debate, it's technology that can really save lives. So pretty much either side of the fence, people on either side of the argument can really get behind this type of technology. However, one thing that I do want to mention is that I previously talked about Patriot One stock last year in a previous video, and somebody did leave a comment saying that they were I forget exactly what they said, but they were kind of offended because they felt like this company uses technology that is very unsafe for humans, and basically said that they don't want to be scanned by microwave radar, and so that can be like very unsafe for humans and stuff like that. And I don't really doubt that, but I don't want to give too much of an opinion on that because, well, first of all, I don't really know much about that stuff, so I don't know how unsafe or safe it is. I imagine it's probably not that safe, but I don't want to speculate on that. And the other thing is that I don't really want to get into any kind of argument over that. So I'll just let you guys form your own opinions. I'm sure opinions vary greatly on that. So anyway, that's just something that I just quickly wanted to mention, is that, there might be a lot of people that feel that this type of technology is very unsafe. but at least, you know, it can potentially save lives and it doesn't really offend anyone in the whole gun debate, right? So there's some pros and there's maybe some cons. In any case, they were able to get FCC approval back in 2017, and that really helped them expand their reach in North America. But they're still really transitioning from perfecting their systems in the lab to making this a mass-produced commercial product, which is really one of the reasons why they went public, was to raise a lot of funds in order to do so. But you might be wondering, well, why then is the stock suffering so much, right? This does sound like a pretty innovative product, so why then is the stock kind of struggling right now? And the reason why, there's really a couple reasons that we can look at that we're going to get into, but one is definitely because, you know, the PAT scan system is not a commercially released product yet. It's not a scaled up product, so they're not really generating meaningful revenues. And another reason is because, you know, when we first talked about this stock, we looked at an original roadmap for the product and basically going from the lab to commercial release, and that roadmap has since been updated. Now we're going to take a look at the original and the updated one. I'll show you the differences, but essentially what happens here is that they had to delay a couple things. So I think the combination of not really generating meaningful revenues, having some delays, those type of things can really hurt a stock. Okay, now here's the original roadmap that I showed you guys in the previous video last year. And you can see how it took 7 years for research and development before they transitioned to phase 2 in 2016 through 2017, where they actually built their system as a viable product. And then in 2018, they started testing it out in the field in actual areas where it could be used, like casinos and schools. And then we get to the last 2 phases here, and this is where they actually saw some delays. Now, originally, they were planning to get their pilot deployments out in Q4 of 2018 in more places like resorts and casinos, law enforcement, more schools, more business areas, and even overseas like the Middle East, Central America, and Africa. So this would have been more of a trial situation and then see how much success they have before transitioning to a commercial release. And then looking at the final phase of the roadmap, they were expecting to begin more of a commercial rollout in more markets, including entertainment complexes and event venues, and they wanted to spread out to markets in 11 different countries. Well, now let's take a look at their updated roadmap, and we can see some key differences here. Notice that phase 4 originally said Q4 of 2018, but that is now being pushed to include Q1 of 2019 as well. And then look at their market rollout phase, and that used to say that it was expected in Q1 of 2019, but is now being pushed to Q2 of this year. So not really a huge delay here, but again, when you're talking about a company that isn't really generating meaningful revenues yet, other than receivables and deposits coming in at less than $1 million for the past quarter, investors are going to become impatient, considering that the intraday market cap has risen to almost 200 million, especially when we look at their latest earnings and see that their accumulated deficit has now reached almost $25 million. Now, they do still have over 30 million in cash and short-term investments, with only 1.4 million in current liabilities, but their losses are really starting to stack up, considering that they added another 4.6 million in losses just last quarter alone. However, you need to understand that we're now in the ramping up phases, so costs are going to start climbing dramatically, which you can see on the expenses list here. But speaking of ramping up and making moves, there's a couple things that I want to mention. First is that Patriot One recently announced just a few days ago here in January that they've completed an acquisition of AI, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong, but I have no idea how to pronounce that, by taking control of 100% of their equity in exchange for over 1.6 million shares of Patriot One. And this gives them the rights to AI's video recognition software that they're implementing into their PATScan VRS product. And so you might be asking, well, what's the PATScan VRS system? Well, that's their video threat recognition system that uses video rather than microwave radar, and it can actually be linked up to existing cameras that are already being used by a customer, and that footage gets processed in real time, either on site or in the cloud, with deep learning and machine learning technologies, and it can detect guns, bombs, fights, break-ins, and even suspicious behavior like what we talked about earlier. They would basically be using this software for video recognition of suspicious, people or even vehicles and what they're doing, and then it can actually send out alerts. And so it really helps Patriot One diversify a little rather than just using microwave radar systems, and it just kind of combines the entire package. And so you can see that on this slide here, where you have the system on a computer monitoring all the PAT scan products. And then throughout the various locations, you have a combination of radar detectors at entry points and then video cameras at several other locations detecting a number of different items and activities. And then the other thing I want to touch on is that back in December, their CEO gave an update that they're already seeing progress in paid trials in Q4 of 2018 and are starting to roll those out to global markets as well. And they are essentially on track with their roadmap now, progressing through phase 4 that we talked about earlier. And then these paid trials should help them progress to more of a commercial release in Q2 of this year. And they just added at the end basically what I've been thinking about this company, which is that it's going to take time and that these paid trials will make it more cost effective to transition to full-scale release and target those 9,000 plus leads that they have both domestically and internationally. So in conclusion, I think Patriot One is absolutely a spec stock. Now, when we look at the fact that the stock has been struggling lately, when we look at, the reasons probably being, at least in my opinion, probably being because they're not really generating meaningful revenue, they're adding to their losses, and they're even experiencing a couple delays here and there. But the thing is that this is a spec stock, so you can't expect, if you're investing in this company, you cannot expect this company to all of a sudden break out overnight or even just within the year. It's going to take a lot of time, guys. So I just kind of want to throw that out there because if you're even considering this stock, you need to understand what the company is and where they're at. This is a very small company that is trying to do something that is a pretty big deal, and they're trying to ramp up to really become a global company and tap into international markets and all these kinds of different things. It's absolutely going to take time. And so the way that I feel about this stock, if you ask me, am I picking up any of this stock? You have to remember that I already have another spec stock. I already have NIO, which is an electric car company out in China, trying to do similar things to what something like Tesla is doing. And that's really my spec stock. And I don't like to have a lot of spec stocks. And even when I do have a spec stock, it's always the smallest position in my portfolio. So I'm not necessarily interested in picking up another spec stock. However, even just picking up like 100 shares of this company would only cost me like less than $150, something like that. And I'm completely fine losing $150 to pick up 100 shares of a spec stock like this. So I probably will pick up maybe 100 shares to start off, and then I will see what happens throughout 2019. If I start to see some success, then perhaps I add to that position. But in the meantime, I'm really in no hurry because this is a company that is in no hurry. So you as an investor, that's one thing I never understand. One thing that I don't understand about lump sum investors, because I get a lot of hate from lump sum investors because I'm a dollar cost averaging investor. I modify it, but that's kind of what I am. So I'm a much slower investor. Whereas people who like to just throw their money into something, they don't really like my strategy, and so I get criticized a lot for it. But but one thing that I don't understand is that if the company is taking their time, why are investors rushing into it? And look, I get the whole mindset of, jumping into a company early before it takes off and maximizing your profits. But the thing is that at this point, right now, it's still a spec stock because we still just don't fully know that it's going to be truly successful in the future. I think it probably will. I have a lot of high hopes for this company, which is why I want to pick up a very small position. But it's going to be a position that I add to slowly over time. I'm in no rush. But let me know what you guys think about this company. There isn't a whole lot of information to go off of yet. Not a lot of people are actually even covering this stock. But it does look like the company does have a little bit of a foundation here. They have a few partnerships going on, one with North Dakota University, another one with the Canadian government, also the Westgate Hotel out in Las Vegas, various schools and police departments as well, some international stuff as well. But we don't know a whole lot about that or to what impact it's all going to have. And a lot of those are just paid trials right now. So they're in kind of the trial phase. They need to make sure that all of this stuff is very successful and accurate. Their system has to be accurate because if somebody goes through their system and it doesn't detect a weapon or things like that and it ends up turning into something much worse, could be horrible PR for Patriot One. So I think right now they're still in the trial phase, paid trials at least, which is going to help them be very cost effective and things like that. But it's a nice foundation to start off of. And they also have a partnership with Cisco where they were actually advertising to other potential clients as well. So there are a lot of leads as well, but again, we don't know too much information yet. I think 2019 will be very telling, and we'll find out to what degree all of these paid trials and partnerships, what it's leading to and how much it's impacting them and how much they're benefiting from them. So anyway, let me know what you guys think down below, and I will cover this stock. Again, I'll give you guys an update in 2019. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.